What's going on, guys? PC here, and welcome to my first look and unboxing of the Tapwave Zodiac. The Zodiac is a handheld game console that was released in 2003 by a company named Tapwave. Tapwave was formed in 2001 by some former Palm executives, so naturally the Zodiac ran the Palm OS operating system, which was normally reserved for PDAs, but in the case of the Zodiac, it was not just a PDA. It was marketed as a media device, very similar to the Sony PSP, where it would play music, view pictures, play videos, and of course play games. The Zodiac had some pretty standard specifications for a PDA of the time, such as a 200 MHz Motorola processor, 32 or 128 megabytes of RAM, depending on if you went with the Zodiac 1 or the Zodiac 2, but don't think that you'll get a speed boost by getting the Zodiac 2, because only 12 megabytes of that RAM is reserved for the operating system and for the games. But aside from those fairly standard specifications for the time, the Zodiac also had a dedicated ATI graphics chip, which made this thing a gaming machine. It could produce graphics very similar to that of the PlayStation 1, which was really impressive considering its main competition at the time was the Game Boy Advance, which could just barely do 3D. So the fact that you could have PS1 quality graphics in your hand was amazing. But despite this, the Zodiac just didn't do very well. It sold very few units and was discontinued only a couple years after its release, most likely due to the lack of developer support. There were only about 20 or so retail games released for the system, which was pretty poor and definitely didn't do much to lure consumers over to the Zodiac. It also had a high price. It was priced at $299 for the base model, which was $100 more expensive than the PSP. So that definitely did not help. And of course the Zodiac 2 was even more expensive at $399. And of course you had competition from Sony and Nintendo, with the DS being released only a year after the Zodiac and the PSP being released 2 years after the Zodiac, which was probably the nail in the coffin for the Zodiac, considering it was discontinued only a few months after the release of the Sony PSP. But anyway guys, we're going to take a look at what's inside the box for the Zodiac, and then we'll take a look at the software and the games. So let's get to it. Okay, so here we have the box for the Zodiac. On the front it says Zodiac Mobile Entertainment Console. Enjoy true console quality gaming, listen to music, view photos, and watch videos. Take control with built-in reference tools and 19,000 available Palm OS applications. Includes 32 megabytes of RAM, and of course if you went with the Zodiac 2, it would say 128 megabytes of RAM. On the side here it says Palm-powered, ATI Imagion, Xforge, Motorola Digital DNA, Bluetooth, SD association, and multimedia card. On the side it lists the contents of what's included in the box, as well as the system requirements, and a picture of the Zodiac with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which is actually the only game I have for the Zodiac at the moment, and I'll show you the case for that in a bit. On the back here it says Zodiac 1 and has a bunch of marketing stuff on the back here, just some descriptions of what it can do, and the specs and different things like that. And on this side, just a bunch of legal stuff about copyrights and trademarks and whatnot. And a picture of the Zodiac with, I believe, is the calendar, I think. And on the bottom, you have a tour around the Zodiac, including the application launcher, action button, large razor sharp 480 by 320 16-bit backlit color display. That's some pretty nice technology right there. USB and power connections, headphone jack, stereo speakers, analog controller, integrated triggers, dual expansion slots, and built-in Bluetooth. So let's take a look and see what we have on the inside of the box. So when you first open it up, you have the Zodiac manual, or quick start guide. Also the software CD is in the plastic as well. And under this cardboard here, you have the Zodiac itself. And we'll take a closer look at that in a second here. But let's take a look and see what's at the bottom of the box. So inside here we have the USB cable, a wrist strap, the AC adapter, and you also have a pair of headphones, which is actually pretty cool. They don't usually include headphones with a lot of things nowadays, so it's pretty cool to have free headphones in the box. So let's take a look at the Zodiac itself. It's a pretty nicely designed handheld, I have to say. I love the curved design. It feels really, really good in your hands. And the analog stick is actually really good, and it reminds me a lot of the PlayStation Vita's analog stick. I wonder if they actually stole it from the Zodiac. But here's the Vita. And we can do a little bit of a comparison here of the size. Pan the camera down here. As you can see, the Zodiac is quite a bit smaller and a lot thinner as well. It's about half the width of the Vita. And as you can see, the analog stick is very, very similar, which is a good thing, because the analog stick on the Vita is actually pretty good for a handheld. And considering this came out way before the Vita, that's quite good. So on the front here, you have, of course, the analog stick, the power button, another button here, home button, the action buttons on this side, which are in a D-pad layout here. You also have stereo speakers on either side, and the screen cover, which flips up, and you can see the Bluetooth button up here, as well as the dual SD card slots, which is quite nice because it allows you to put either 2 games in there, or you can put a game in one slot and an SD card in the other for storing media, or you can actually use SDIO cards as well, which will allow you to add Wi-Fi and GPS to the Zodiac, which is pretty nice. But you also have the trigger buttons up here as well, which aren't traditional trigger buttons. They're actually just kind of thin rubber with buttons below them, so the whole triggers don't actually move. But they're nice and clicky. So on the bottom here, you have the charge/sync port and the headphone jack right here. And on the back of the device, you have the stylus holder, and it says Tapwave First Edition, and some other things here. So before we turn this on, I actually wanted to show you one of the game cases for the Zodiac, which is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Pan the camera up a bit here. What's odd about this is this actually comes in a full-size DVD case, which is really odd, especially considering the size of the game, which comes on an SD card. And as you can see, the case kind of dwarfs the size of the game itself. So that's pretty odd that they decided to go with a case this size. I thought they'd actually go with a case closer to the size of what the Vita games come in, but nope, they went with a full-size DVD case. It does come with a full-size manual, which is nice. But here's the outside of the case. On the back here shows some screenshots. The game actually looks very similar to the GBA version of the game in the fact that it plays in an isometric view, but the graphics on the Zodiac version are much, much better than what you see on the GBA game. But yeah, that's a quick look at one of the game cases for the Zodiac. So I guess we'll take a look and see what this thing can do. We'll take a look at some of the games and some of the features of the Zodiac. Okay, so we have the Zodiac powered on and ready to go here. I've actually been using it for quite a while now, just so I could install some games and applications and get used to using it. I've also played some of the games, so I can give you my first impressions of them. But anyway, let's start with the user interface. As you can see, the UI is comprised of a circle of bubble-like icons, which actually look quite familiar. Yeah, as you can see, it looks very similar to the PlayStation Vita's user interface. I think Sony might have some explaining to do. But anyway, you have that circle of icons on the left, which is basically your favorites. You can drag and drop things from the list on the right there for quick access in that little circle, which is pretty nice. You also have folders you can put stuff in, which is pretty nice as well, so you can organize things the way you want. So here we have the media section, which has a music player, an ebook reader, a photo viewer, as well as a couple other applications that I installed myself, including TCP/MP, which is a video player, and a very good one at that. It plays just about any format, and also Sunvox, which is some type of music creator program, which is actually pretty cool. So here we have the settings menu where you can adjust your screen brightness, calibration, volume, power settings, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Nothing really too exciting, it's a settings menu. And of course we have the games. In this case, all the games are actually on my SD card, which is one of the issues with the Zodiac, at least for Tapwave back in the day. They really didn't implement much copy protection into these games. You could literally put a game in an SD card reader and copy the game off of it. It was that simple. There was some copy protection implemented, but it really didn't take long for people to get around that, so that actually may have contributed to the death of the Zodiac, but I don't think as much as things like the price and the competition and lack of developer support, of course. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these games, and I'll give you my first impressions of them. So the first game I want to show you is called Stunt Car Extreme. It's a game that was actually bundled for free with the Zodiac, and it's a pretty typical off-road type racer, but it tries to mix things up a bit by throwing in stunts. And what I mean by stunts is basically jumping off of ramps. Yeah, it's not exactly the most sophisticated stunt system, but basically what they do is they throw ramps at different places on the tracks, and you can jump off of them to increase your boost meter and also earn points. And you can use those points to unlock other game modes as well as to gamble. And so you can actually bet on races, so if you win you can double your points or whatever. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit different. Definitely not the best game on the Zodiac. The graphics are just alright, there's a lot of pop-in, the frame rate isn't so great, but I do find that if you play in a first-person perspective, it seems to play a bit smoother. But you really can't complain too much since it was a game that was bundled for free with the Zodiac. So next up we have a game called Animated Dudes. This is a side-scrolling platformer with some really cool looking graphics. Everything is hand-drawn and has a almost claymation type of look to it, which is really unique for a video game. The game has a storyline, but I don't even know what it is. It's something to do with toxic waste taking over the planet. I really have no idea, don't even ask. So you play the game as a few very odd characters, including a toxic waste bucket with antennas, I think, or something like that, and he can shoot toxic waste at enemies. You can also play as a plunger, which jumps on enemies' heads, and a stick of dynamite that can whip enemies with its fuse. So, yeah, definitely a unique cast of characters, that's for sure. Unfortunately, the game doesn't play all that well. It's kind of stiff to control, and the buttons on the Zodiac don't really help. They're very clicky and don't really take very well to games that require fast reaction or games that require you to press multiple buttons at once. Say, for example, in this game you might want to jump and shoot at the same time, which is very hard to do with the Zodiac's controls. So just because of that, the game really isn't that enjoyable to play. I don't know, maybe if I spent more time with it I could get used to the controls, but as is, I don't know, I didn't find myself having much fun with this game, which is disappointing because it's a really cool looking game. So the next game I want to show you is Tomb Raider, or actually Tomb Raider 1 and 2. It's a compilation game. This game was actually never released. It was leaked onto the internet a while back in an incomplete form. But the reason I wanted to show you this game is because it's probably the best demonstration of what the Zodiac was capable of. This game, as far as I know, is a direct port from the PS1, so it really shows off the graphical capabilities of the Zodiac. It looks absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, the game doesn't play very well. It basically just gives you a menu of levels to pick from because the levels actually weren't complete, so you can't play through the game from the beginning to the end. And the game just is really, really glitchy, but it looks amazing, and I think this was a great showcase of what the Zodiac was really capable of, and a potential look into what the future of the Zodiac could have been. So last but not least, we have what is probably my favorite game on the Zodiac so far, and that is Firehammer. Firehammer is a vertical scrolling shooter which actually has you holding the Zodiac in a vertical orientation. I've seen this before on the PSP with the Capcom Classics collection, and it takes some getting used to, but it's actually really cool to play this way. The game is all about your score, so you'll want to collect every one of those gold spheres that are dropped by the enemies when you kill them. Each one you collect will increase your score multiplier, but if you miss one, the multiplier is reset. Firehammer is a lot of fun, but it's quite difficult. You're only given 3 lives and you'll die in 1 hit, so as with most shmups, it's going to take a lot of level memorization to beat. It's a great game though, and it looks and plays extremely well. I highly recommend this one. So there you have it. That was my first look at the Tapwave Zodiac. It's a system that had a lot of potential, but unfortunately was never realized due to lack of developer support, its high price, and competition from Sony and Nintendo. It's really too bad because it is a really nice system, it had some great specs, and the design is just amazing. It's probably one of the best looking systems that I've ever seen. I absolutely love it. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.